It's Monday, and we're going to do the same thing as we do on every Monday. We're going to pull up the charts from the Next Gen Stats over at NFL.com, look at the trendy running backs, and analyze what they can do for us in fantasy football, whether it's for the waivers, trades and dynasty, maybe redraft if it's still open, more than likely not, trades and Devy, pickups, whatever, prospecting out for next year, filling up those confirmation biases that you may have on these players, or just looking at the numbers. But what you need to do right now is click that subscribe button. Tap with the finger on your phone, mouse on the computer, because I'm here to help you win your fantasy leagues. We cover the waiver wire extensively. Week in and week out, we help you set your lineups. We help you with your drafts, whether it's rookie drafts, the drafts in April, the drafts in August for your redraft leagues, whatever it is. I'm here to help you with your research. But let's look at these 10 trendy running backs from week 13. And first player we're talking about here is Zach Moss. He's getting a lot of touches, and we knew that. We knew that coming in. We knew he was going to get a lot of opportunities here. Just 7.7 PPR fantasy points, but still 19 carries in this matchup against the Titans. And this one went off the rails on game script, 31-28. The thing about this is you know he's going to get a lot of workload going forward. You need to keep him on your rosters. You need to hope for the best. And really, the Titans' run D is a run D that most NFL teams do not want to run on. They're a pass funnel team. Most teams try to pass on them a lot more. And the fact that he got 19 carries is an identifier that they trust him. They don't care about the matchup. They're going to give him the rock. And that's a good thing to know going forward as well, because he was productive against Tennessee earlier in the season. They recognized that. They gave him some carries. He got some work. And you know what? He's probably going to get workload going forward. Derrick Henry went off 102 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was getting a lot of touches. He's been looking good. But the thing to identify here is he went out with a concussion. It might be Tyjae Spears' time, at least for this week. If he can't come back from concussion protocol, something to monitor. But Henry's been running hot these last 2 weeks. 20 fantasy points against the Panthers, 25 against the Colts. Those are two teams where you should be able to run the football on. So that being said, softer matchups, Henry's in the lineup, should be a lock going forward, should be getting more opportunities. Look for Tyjae Spears on the waiver wire this week. I've been telling you guys he's a good cuff to get over these last few weeks, and this is why everybody's going to run to the waiver wire and get him. If you already had him, you're good to go because you know he's going to get workload going forward. But Derrick Henry has a concussion, and he has been running hot. James Conner hasn't been getting touches week in and week out. Really got a boatload of touches against the Steelers. Rushed for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is probably going to lead to more opportunities going forward as they're going to ramp him up for the back end of the season. We have a bye week in week 14 that we got to contend with, but still, things are starting to ramp back up for James Conner, starting to get more opportunities, more workload, and starting to score fantasy points for teams after coming back from injury a few weeks ago. Chuba Hubbard's a quiet hitter. These last 2 weeks, he scored 42 fantasy points. Another decent matchup here against Tampa Bay with 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tennessee allowed 20 fantasy points to him in week 12, and then 22 fantasy points to Tampa Bay, running on 2 stout rushing defenses there in back-to-back games. This game was held in the rain, allowing opportunities for these running backs to get some workload here. He's been holding it down, getting a lot of workload and opportunities this season. We should see that throughout the rest of the year. Some games he'll hit like he did in week 13. Other games he'll get you enough fantasy points to get you by. And then other games he'll bust. And that's the nature of this offense. This offense is up and down. As we can tell, we're losing our coaches here. We got a rookie quarterback. Not the greatest situation. Chuba Hubbard's getting workload, and you're starting him due to the touches if you have him. Devin Achane is back. He is back scoring fantasy points. Another huge performance. 2 touchdowns, 73 rushing yards. Also caught 3 balls off 4 targets for 30 yards. Dude is just a fantasy point scoring machine. He gets the ball around the goal line. He's a threat to score from anywhere on the field. He is a guy you want on your fantasy teams. You're starting him, and you're hoping for the best every matchup because the upside is insane. Kyren Williams is getting touches, and he is getting them in large amounts here. Back-to-back games, scoring big. 58 fantasy points the last 2 weeks combined against the Browns, who have been hurting at quarterback. He was able to get the job done on the ground. Also saw 5 targets in this game, and you're feeling good about him as you're rolling into the fantasy playoffs. Dameon Pierce. Someone mentioned in one of my comment sections that they think he's a sneaky pickup. Really, anybody on the Texans can really get it on any given week. That's just how good CJ Stroud is. He scored 10.1 PPR fantasy points, saw 15 carries, might be an indicator that we might be getting more volume down the line. You can also run very well in the Broncos. They allow a lot of fantasy points to running backs. He got you a 10 spot, good enough to get you by to the next week. A guy you don't trust, but maybe a guy you pick up off waivers, see what happens. But honestly, you're just going to have to watch the tea leaves going forward. Bijan Robinson, like I said, every single week, really, and said earlier on Friday that no matter what, he's going to score your fantasy points unless he has a headache game, unless he's not getting those touches. Got you 10.9. Good enough to get you by. Just 53 rushing yards, but he got 5 targets, caught 3 balls. The receiving production is really going to allow him to hit a higher floor than most running backs, even in these bad matchups, even against the Jets here. He's able to get you by. That's a good thing going forward, and you always got to have him in your lineups. Alvin Kamara, we knew he was going to go off. We knew he was going to get extra workload. The game script called for that too, as the Detroit Lions got up big early in this matchup. He was using the passing game, saw 8 targets, caught 6 of them for 58 yards, 14 carries, 51 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's just getting to work. Think about this. Back to draft time, people were worried about him getting a suspension. Now he's just lights out game after game after game. Austin Ekeler, the big thing about him, is he dust? Is he done? Or is he just going to turn it around with a favorable matchup going forward? But it has not been looking good. I want you to let me know what you think in the comments below right now. Just type that out. I want to hear about that. Because right now, last week, 14 carries, 18 yards, week 13. Week 12, 10 carries, 32 yards. That weird game against Baltimore, against Green Bay. Not an optimal matchup. On the road, 7 fantasy points, 64 yards. Is he dust, or are we going to see a comeback? I'm not commenting on that. I want to hear your thoughts. Drop that in the comment section below. But those are the trends from the next-gen stats from week 13. Let me know what you think in the comments below about anything. Also, the waiver wire videos are coming. It's going to heat up on Tuesday. We're going to talk a lot about Tyjae Spears. I'm going to tell you about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Ric Flair's watching. Do not disappoint him. I want to thank you for watching, though. Catch you on the next video.